To Sports Center, our Adam Schefter is reporting that Antonio Brown is working out for the Saints this morning. The possibility of Brown as an addition to that franchise has the sports world talking. So let's just do a recap so you know where we stand with Antonio Brown, a timeline here. After signing with the Pats, Brown's former trainer, Brittany Taylor, accuses him of sexual assault. Following a report of a second incident involving sexual misconduct, he was released by the Pats. Today, our Adam Schefter again reports that Brown is in New Orleans working out for the Saints. So for more on this, we bring in Adam Schefter. So obviously, at this point in the season, we all want to know why in the world would New Orleans Saints bring in Antonio Brown to work out on a Friday?
Because they're always looking for wide receiver depth, and they have a group of 6 different wide receivers working out today for the Saints. Now, the big name, obviously, is Antonio Brown, and the Saints are not afraid to go big name hunting at the wide receiver position. Last year, they signed Dez Bryant before he ruptured his Achilles during his first week of workouts. But in this particular case, keep in mind, Kerry, that the NFL investigation of Antonio Brown has not yet wrapped up. We don't know when it's going to wrap up. We don't know what the results of that will be when it does wrap up. And once the league's investigation does wrap up, then the league always could put more discipline on Antonio Brown. And if there were a team that were going to sign Antonio Brown today, like the Saints, the league could put him on the commissioner's exempt list. So it's not like he's playing this Sunday. I think the Saints might be looking at hoping to get him on the roster for a playoff run, but it's hard to imagine that the NFL is going to clear that. This looks like a long-term play for the 2020 season, getting him in on the roster before another team could in advance, thinking forward, due diligence, but he's not playing Sunday. And again, I think it's hard to imagine that he's going to play for the New Orleans Saints during the postseason as well.
All right, I just want to make sure that I understand when people hear bits and pieces and maybe read the bottom line. We don't know when the NFL investigation will be over. This is a long-term play that you speak of in such a way that you feel like the Saints are trying to prepare just to get him perhaps off the market if they can have him as a wideout.
And in the event that somehow the NFL finds no wrongdoing and says we can't see anything wrong, Antonio Brown now is allowed to play. And in that case, the Saints would be prepared to move with Antonio Brown, and they would add him, and they'd have Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas, and that's why I think people are so excited about the prospect of this. But again, I think that's a ways away, and I think we're jumping to conclusions to get to that spot.
Oh, no, you made us measured here today on SportsCenter Coast to Coast. Adam Schefter breaking everything down for us. I appreciate you for joining us. Happy holidays, my friend.
And likewise.
Okay, we have our NFL analyst, Damien Woody, here with us for more perspective on this. And from a player's point of view, Damien, how would potentially bringing a person like Antonio Brown, his background, be received in the locker room?
Well, first of all, the players are going to look at it and like, listen, we're 12-3 without you, so we don't need you here. Okay, that's number one. Number two, in the era of social media and how, people put their business out there, I'm sure there's some players in the locker room that are skeptical, like, wait a minute, do we really want to be bringing this type of stuff into our sacred space? Do we really want that type of headache? So I'm sure there's some players that can look beyond that and see the football player, because make no mistake about it, Antonio Brown is a prolific wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers of this generation. But I'm sure there's a level of skepticism with some of the players within the locker room.
And you wonder the conversations that maybe Champagne has had to have with his locker room before this, right?
Listen, it's a workout.
Yeah,
it's a workout. And I think that's the thing that Adam Schefter, said right before we came on. It's a workout. Let's not put the cart before the horse. But if this were to move forward, I'm sure those are the things that the players in the locker room are talking about.
All right, there you have it, Damien, with a perspective. He's going to be back with us in just a few to tell us who will have the last